Kalimera, kalispera, kalinichta. No matter where in this wild, wacky, and sometimes wonderful world you might be, thank you for making the Highbury Squad part of your day. Another wacky hour to broadcast. We will get some times scheduled and set for you, squaddies, I promise. But with the Champions League, this new format, double games, we're going to have to be a bit adaptable. But adaptable we are, and we've got a phenomenal guest on for you today. Let's rock and roll. Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad. Hello. It's Champions League Eve for the Gunners, and I'd love to welcome back one of my favourite, not only Italian football experts, but let's just say that he also has a soft spot for the Gunners. Carlo Garganese, welcome back to Squad Central. Bosh.
Yeah, I do have a soft spot for the Gunners. Yeah, I do. They are my English team going back to 1990. Actually, I remember the day that I started supporting Arsenal. 2nd of December 1990. It was my brother's birthday, and Arsenal were playing against Liverpool in a big match at Highbury. Do you remember that game without me telling you the score?
1990.
Testing your knowledge there.
Oh, did Kevin score in that game?
I think he might have done, actually. It was Dixon penalty. Merson, I think Merson scored the third. Was it? It was either Kevin or Smith scored the second one.
Merson's was a bit of a wonder goal, wasn't it?
I think he lofted it over the keeper.
Lofted it over, yeah.
But it was a 3-0 win anyway.
3-0.
And then I started supporting Arsenal, and then Arsenal won the league that year. Yeah.
You're the reason why.
yeah. I brought the good luck. That season. Yeah. Thanks for having me there. How you doing, Sophie?
I'm good. And you're wearing the right colours today. I mean, it's not very Italian-esque.
Yeah, I thought I'd wear a red for the Arsenal today.
I love it. Okay, so let's see. So the 1990, I just wanted to say, because you were saying 1990, the 1991 season, we won the title. Yeah.
1990, 91. Yeah. So it was December 90.
Yeah. Okay. It's early for me, kids. I mean, you're lucky I'm out of bed and looking the way I am because, I'm saying looking the way I am is because I feel awful. I was up all night. I don't know why. Carlo couldn't sleep and just a bit discombobulated. And I don't know. I know when you came on, you gave me some news and it kind of made me sad. It's been a bit of a year of sad news. And I wanted to just say a few words as well. And sending all our love to Aston Villa Football Club and Gary Shaw's family. I had this up to do on Monday's show and I don't know, I just couldn't do it. It was just one of those days. And, Monday Madness was always the show Kev and I did together. And another one gone too soon and too young, Gary Shaw. And I used to love watching that Aston Villa team play. They had so much talent. And, when it came to English football at that time, this is why I love seeing Villa and Forest especially back in the Premier League. But I just wanted to send out our love and condolences to Gary Shaw and Aston Villa, who were very kind also when Kev passed away. And then you tell me that there's been some massive news in Italian football today, and I know it's affected you deeply. So I thought we could just chat about it for a little bit.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, very sad about Gary Shaw. First of all, my condolences. I mean, I'm too young. He was a little bit before I was born, but I know all the history about obviously Aston Villa winning the European Cup and then winning the league, and he was, I think, a young player then. But yeah, the other bit of sad news was really my first childhood memory, and I told you about the Arsenal game. My first game watching Arsenal. My first football memory was Italia 90, the 1990 World Cup, and I was only 5, 6 years old then, and in Italy. And it was Toto Schillaci, who was the top scorer in that tournament, the breakout star. He won the best player in that tournament. He captured the hearts of everyone, not just Italians. But the first thing you think of when you think of Italia '90 is Toto Schillaci. Yeah, and with the sad news this morning that he's passed away, 59 years old. Just so sad. Yeah, way too young. And yeah, we're losing a lot of legends this year. Obviously, Kevin and part of your show as well. And yeah, these are just Gary Shaw and now Schillaci, who for me personally, I felt affected me because when it's one of your childhood heroes and your first football memory, you feel like part of you's gone as well. So yeah, gutted.
Yeah, no. I'm sorry to hear that and to see how it's affected you. And even everybody fell in love with Schillaci in Italia '90. And I think everyone fell in love. Italia '90 was just one of those really special World Cups as well. And he's the perfect, if you were going to pick the player that defines what it means to rise and be a star at a World Cup, when no one especially kind of really knows you around the world, he was it. Sunshine, sun rays, played with a smile on his face, beautiful football. It was a phenomenal tournament. And the fact that it was, in Italy, it's one of my favorite World Cups. And so sorry to hear this news. And we send out love to everyone who loved Toto Schillaci, and he mattered in Italian football, and the legacy he leaves behind is a really special one, Carlo. So thanks for sharing that with me. And you know what? All we can do is honor them all and talk football, because that's what they would be doing today, right? Is talking about the beautiful game, the game they played and the game they loved. And it doesn't get any bigger other than the World Cup than the Champions League. And the Champions League is back. And I just wondered, before we start picking your brains about Atalanta, what do you think about the new format? Are you into it?
I think there's some good and bad. Depends which way you look at it. I mean, the good is that, well, there's more money. So there's more money for the clubs. So I guess it's good for the clubs financially. It's good for the fans that there's 8 games against 8 different opponents. So you get to see your team, whoever that is, playing against 8 different teams. And that the chances are you're not going to miss out on seeing them over a few years. You're going to play pretty much everyone. So that's good. The bad, I think, has to be the player welfare. There's just too many games now for the players, and the effect that's going to have over a course of time. It's too many games already, and you're adding an extra 2 league phase games, plus if you don't finish in the top 8, another 2 games in the knockouts. There's no break in the Champions League this season either. It just goes straight through December and January into February. Then we've got this ridiculous Club World Cup at the end of the tour, at the end of the season, into June, into July. So where is the rest? When the players going to rest? And you've got an international tournament every 2 years. So I mean, everybody. I don't know about you, Sophie, but I thought the quality of the Euros, with the exception of Spain, I thought every big team was horrible to watch at the Euros. I thought they all looked exhausted. They looked tired. You add all the injuries, extra injuries, players again, ACLs, so many, especially in Italian football. There's so many. We're going to talk about that with Atalanta in a minute. There's so many talented Italian players that get ACLs because they're playing too much. I just think that this is too much, and it's going to affect the players and the quality of the football as well.
Yeah, no, I totally agree with you. And we've got that to come with the World Cup as well, and you just don't get as good a games. I don't think the Euros lit up for me. I mean, you could pick the games that were really exciting. The Turkey game in the knockout stages was super exciting. Okay, the late goals by England were really exciting, but England was so boring and so poor, and you often wonder what they would have been like under Lee Carsley in that tournament. Spain, I did think the best team won 100%. Germany at the beginning, I thought, with the young players were really exciting, but it was a dud. And while we're on the subject, I mentioned this on TalkSport the other night, and I said it's only a matter of time before the players start taking things into their own hands. And lo and behold, yesterday Rodri at his Champions League press conference talked about strike. And you know what? I'm definitely of the proponent that I don't care how much you earn when you're overworked and people are sucking everything out of you. You know, they're treating players like machines. You know, the NFL do that a lot. You got to take your money when you can in the NFL, and football careers are very fine and short, and it could be over in a second. Carlo, what do you think about what Rodri said?
No, I think he's right. I think it's just more. It's just greed, isn't it? Is you've got people that are in charge of the sport, but you know, even at the clubs. I mean, the Super League was just about earning even more, especially when it comes to the Premier League clubs. I mean, I can understand, you know, the leagues in Italy, Spain, the other leagues, because they're not making the kind of money that the Premier League clubs are. But when Premier League clubs are trying to push for a Super League, then that's just greed. And with the games, extra games, these extra tournaments, FIFA trying to generate more money for themselves with this Club World Cup, which is just ridiculous at the end of the season. And now extra Champions League games. I mean, when does it stop? It's just more. Now the World Cup's being expanded as well. I mean, you know, a Nations League. I mean, it's just more. I mean, when does it stop? I mean, what, we can have 100-game seasons? I mean, it's ridiculous. So there has to be a point where, you know, you put a line in the sand and you say, that's it. Enough is enough. So I absolutely support it, definitely.
Yeah, I do too. I support the players here. It's getting a little bit too much. And by the way, squaddies, at ease, welcome to everyone in chat. For those of you listening on replay, thank you as well. I know most of you will be, and we'll get back to a proper timing schedule for you once we figure out these Champions League games. And we've got the women's show coming up with Demian and Albert launching as well. So bear with us here. All right, Carlo, let's get stuck into Atalanta, right? I'm not going to sit here and profess that I'm an expert on Atalanta. What I do know is they have a pretty good team from last season that won Europa League, and they have one of the best logos in football, I think, personally. Just going to say that out loud.
The goddess, yeah.
The goddess. They do seem to have elevated themselves over the last few seasons. That Europa League win was absolutely massive. Lookman's performance was huge. But where do you think they can hurt Arsenal? So if we look at the SWOT analysis, the strengths, weaknesses, opportunities, and threats, let's start with the strengths. Where can they hurt Arsenal?
Well, offensively, that they're a free-flowing, they're a very modern team, and they're very they've got the intensity. They can handle what often happens with a big problem for Italian clubs in recent seasons is when they face Premier League teams. Sometimes the intensity of the Premier League teams, the physical qualities of the Premier League teams can be a bit too much. Even if the last couple of years, actually, the Serie A clubs have been doing much better against Premier League clubs. But just talking generally, Atalanta can match the intensity. They're super fit. They can run all day long, and so that they will match Arsenal physically and in terms of intensity. That's a strength. They are very dangerous offensively, even though they have lost some players, which I'll come on to when we discuss the weaknesses. Offensively, they're very dangerous. I mean, you mentioned Lookman. I mean, that hat trick that he scored in the Europa League final is you won't see many better hat tricks, or very few players have even scored a hat trick in European finals. But I mean, that was a world-class performance from Lookman. Absolutely fantastic. He's in the form of his career, the peak of his career. I think he's such a wonderful player. So he will be very, very dangerous. Retegui, a striker that's come in, has started the season on fire. He is a killer. Like, if he has one chance in this game against Arsenal, he will bury it. He's one of the best finishers around. There were some doubts when he joined about his all-round game, just how good he is at linking up with teammates, bringing others into play. But actually, so far, he's actually done really well this season. So I think Lookman and Retegui will be very, very dangerous. Ederson in centre midfield, although he hasn't started the season that great. is an outstanding player who I think is destined to join one of the bigger clubs in Europe. He'll be the next big player from Atalanta to go. And they play as a team. They play as a team as well.
So I just wanted to stick with Retegui for a while because he cost close to 30 million euros, right? I think it was around 28. He's got 4 appearances, 4 goals. Did he come from Genoa? Was he?
Yes.
Have I got that right?
That's
okay.
Correct, yeah.
And he's Argentinian born, but plays for Italy. And I have to say, I went and took a look at his goals, and I also took a look at the combination play against Fiorentina. And these two certainly seem to have developed an early rapport. And I just wanted to stick with them for just 1 second, because we know about Lookman, but Retegui's fairly new to the Champions League stage. Does he look like, a lot of the times there's so much hype and someone starts 4 goals, 4 games, but did he come to Atalanta with hype? Was he one of those sought after players? Because educate me there.
No, to be honest with you, no. I've been a little bit proven wrong by him so far. When he joined Genoa, it was a bit of a desperation move because Scamacca, who was Atalanta's striker, obviously formerly of West Ham, he'd done his ACL in pre-season, and they had to rush in the last weeks of the summer market. They had to quickly rush and find someone, and they went and they signed Retegui. So it was unplanned. It was unplanned. At that time, I would say I thought at the time it was quite not a massive downgrade, but I thought it was a downgrade, quite a significant downgrade on Scamacca, because the way I looked at Retegui is I thought of him as someone who's a penalty box striker, brilliant finisher, fantastic in the air, but his all-round game, technically, his touch, protecting the ball with his back to goal, all that kind of stuff. I didn't see that in him. We hadn't seen him for Genoa. We hadn't seen that when he's played for Italy, including at the Euros where he wasn't great. But I don't know what's happened. Like, he's just straight away in these first games of the season, he's looked like he's got that in his game. He's been playing for the team really well, and he's had that finishing that we know he's got. So he's like exceeded my expectations, and a lot of people have expectations. They didn't see him having this level to his game.
Interesting. Okay, so let's move on to the weaknesses. You touched on one thing just there, earlier. Does Gasperini play with a 3-4-2-1? Is he, ish?
3-4-2-1 / 3-4-1-2, kind of how you want to look at it. But yeah, basically that, yeah.
Okay, so where do you think the weaknesses are for Atalanta?
Well, defensively, definitely. This season, they've conceded 10 goals in 5 games. They've conceded more goals than anyone in Serie A so far this season. They are defending terribly this season. I mean, if you saw that Fiorentina game, the 2 goals they conceded, just awful defending. So Arsenal will have their chances in this game. Atalanta have also, the other weaknesses they've got is this summer has been a really difficult summer for them. They lost their best defender, Scalvini, to an ACL. They've lost their best midfielder, Koopmeiners, who got sold to Juventus, fantastic midfielder, and they've lost their striker, Scamacca. So they've had the kind of the heart of their team ripped out from them. Yes, they brought Retegui in, and he looks like a good replacement at the moment, but they haven't replaced Koopmeiners in midfield, and they haven't replaced Scalvini in defence. So on paper, this is a weaker team than the team that won the Europa League last season. So, and that's been shown in the results. They've won 2, lost 2. They got hammered 4-0 by Inter. Having said that, though, they're not to be underestimated, because they prove people wrong so many times. They've been written off so many times over the last few years. So, yeah, just because they are weaker, I don't think any Arsenal player or fan should write them off ahead of the game on Thursday.
So those are some significant weaknesses, and I'm enlightened. Arsenal stupidly criticised by some people for their performance against Tottenham. They don't understand an Italian masterclass by a Spaniard when they see it, Carlo. That's for sure. Do you think, in terms of the opportunities of the SWOT, that Atalanta, with the strengths being going forward, a new partnership brewing, could could hurt. That's their biggest and best opportunity for us, especially if we allow them to have the ball away from home.
Possibly. I mean, Arteta to me is quite pragmatic. When I say pragmatic, I don't mean defensive. I just mean that he doesn't overcommit himself. I think in matches, and actually Atalanta tended to struggle more against those kind of teams. Like they lost the Coppa Italia final last season to a horrible Juventus team under Max Allegri, horribly defensive, counter-attacking team. You know how much I hate Allegri if you follow me on social media, and I'm so glad he's gone. But he was a horribly defensive, counter-attacking manager, and Atalanta deservedly lost that game. They got picked off on the counter-attack, whereas I think Atalanta tend to perform better against teams that actually come at them and open up and go toe-to-toe for them and leave those gaps open. We saw that in the Europa League where they beat Liverpool. They hammered them at Anfield 3-0 last season. They beat Leverkusen in the final 3-0, a team that had been unbeaten in all competitions last season, like historic season that Leverkusen had. Everyone thought they were unbeatable. And they beat them because Leverkusen came at them. They tried to play and dominate them. And Atalanta just destroyed them. So maybe Arsenal's style of game will potentially on paper might not suit Atalanta so much. But having said that, I guess it depends also on the Arsenal team. And I'm seeing some reports that Arsenal might rest a few players, so that might weaken Arsenal. So it's not an easy one to read.
Yeah, it's definitely one of those where even though I hear you saying Atalanta are weak and Gasperini a good manager, his legacy piece will be the winning the Europa League. He's kind of like one of those managers that's his name's popped here and there. This was his signature moment, making sure that Italian football didn't go another 26 years without a trophy, without the Europa League trophy. Does a manager like him, how adaptable is he? Because when I was going to say on the threat side, those are things you can't control. You can't control the ACLs, can't control losing a player like Scamacca. A team like Atalanta has to sell in order to keep, the wheels turning. How do you think he'll approach this in the Champions League against Arsenal, having won Europa League? They've got that feather in their hat. Arsenal do not have that feather in their recent hat at all. So to say they're favourites would probably be silly because Arsenal, of course, on paper are the better team. But do you see someone like Gasperini being a little clever here?
I think he'll just do what he's always done in these. I'm trying to think how many years. 9 years now. I think he's been at Atalanta. He's always had a very clear identity. The way that he plays, he likes to play attacking front foot football. He likes to take the game to the opposition. That they have one way of playing, and that's how they play. So I don't see him doing anything differently. Atalanta. I mean, I've called them pound for pound the best run club in Europe. I mean, when you look at their resources that they have, what they've done is miraculous, really. I mean, they have the wage budget of a championship team. Their scouting network, their youth academy, the number of top players that they've scouted and then developed and then sold on for big money, and they lose so many players. Every year after year. They sell their best players and they still manage to build a new team. I mean, this is about the third or fourth iteration of this Atalanta team under Gasperini. And that's why you can't write them off. That's why you can't say, yes, they've lost three key players, but the new ones have come through. Retegui is already looking like he's becoming a top player. So there's other players as well that that can develop and become top players. So I don't think Gasperini will do anything differently, and I think they relish these occasions. They love these big matches. They won't be overawed or nervous or anything.
Carlo, what does the Italian media think of Arsenal? What's said about Arsenal, Arteta, the team in Italy?
Very much appreciated. They think that they're a top side, top players. I mean, I just saw Gasperini's press conference ahead of this game, and he spoke in very, very glowing terms of Arteta and of the team. He said that, complete team. They play good football. They play football the way that I like it, the way it should be played. So there's a lot of respect there. He says, I've never met Arteta, but it'd be great to meet him. I'm a big fan of him. So I think there's a lot of respect, a lot of acknowledgement. I think everybody knows that Arsenal are favourites. I mean, that's shown with the odds. If you look at the bookmakers, Arsenal are favourites. But Atalanta, they've beaten big teams. I mean, they're one of the only few teams. I think one of only maybe 3 teams to have won twice at Anfield in history. So that shows what they can do. So I wouldn't be surprised if they got a win here.
Yeah. No, I wouldn't either. This is exactly the type of fixture that you can't, go in feeling too cocky about. I have to ask you as well. He's back in training. I don't believe it until I see the pictures taken by the great Stuart MacFarlane. But I wanted your take on Calafiori. Other than his awful denim suit he wore to the game the other day, he's definitely come in with some swagger and some Italian style. And, a lot of us kind of joke, but if I take this ticker tape off at the bottom, he does feel every Italian defender is Maldini 2.0 in the making. Of course, you've got to reach certain levels to be compared to Maldini, but he does seem like a special player with a bit of an attitude in a good way. Tell me about you following his path in Italian football and what people think, real Italian fans think of Calafiori.
Yeah, look, I agree with the look. I mean, he has the look of one of those Italian players from maybe 20 years ago, 25 years ago. We haven't had many of those, kind of pin-up boys, really. So I guess he has that look. His development's been incredible. He was very well thought of as a teenager. Then he actually got an ACL as a teenager while he was at Roma. And then he kind of like not disappeared, but nothing much was said of him, really. He went off to Switzerland. He came back to Bologna last year, and then he just exploded. He was moved from left back, which is his natural role, the role he was playing at when he was in Roma's youth team and when he went off to Switzerland. And then he was converted into a centre back by Thiago Motta, who was the Bologna coach last season and is now the new Juventus coach. Motta converted him into this left centre back, but as a kind of a marauding centre back. He was a centre back that would come into midfield, often played in centre midfield, but he was like he would just charge up the field and break the press so brilliantly, either with his passes, but more so with his running and ball carrying. And he was, I mean, probably the best centre back in Serie A last season. He was an absolute revelation. And I think a lot of that was down to Motta unlocking him. Motta, I think, is one of the best young coaches in Europe, and we've already seen at Juventus what he's doing. So a lot of the credit needs to go to Motta. But we saw at the Euros, I mean, he was one of the only bright lights, probably the only real bright light for Italy in a dreadful Euros for Italy. He was the only one that really kind of performed and got the move to Arsenal. Yeah, it hasn't played much yet. Hoping to see more of him because I do think he's got everything to be a star.
So I'm going to ask you to put your Arsenal hat on now because we're seeing one of the best defensive partnerships emerging. I showed these pictures on Monday's show when you've got Benjamin White, Saliba, Gabriel, of course, Jurrien Timber, who's joined. Zinchenko, of course, I think now becomes a bit of a squad player. I don't think there's a better defensive unit or partnership in the Premier League. In terms of centre-backs, I can't see anyone better than these two. Maybe, Manchester City, of course, Real Madrid. But they really are unbelievable, these two. And then when you couple that with Benjamin White, when you couple that with Jurrien Timber, you got someone like Kivior who could play in smaller games, cup games, Calafiori coming in. Can you see him? Timber's kind of made a huge impression, I think, on Arteta already. How do you see him getting his chances with with Arsenal? Because he was a shining light, and he was one of those stars from the Euros in a bad team, but you could see he had class.
Yeah, that's the big question. I mean, you said put your Arsenal hand from the Italy national team point of view. Obviously, you know, we need from Italy need him to be playing regularly for Arsenal. He was also outstanding, by the way, in the game against France, where Italy won in Paris a couple of weeks. Absolutely, you wouldn't have not thought that he hadn't barely played for Arsenal this season. I don't know. I mean, I think that he's become the player he is as a centre back. Obviously, you've got Saliba and Gabriel, and the numbers speak for themselves. Arsenal best defence in the league last season, conceded was it one goal, I think, this season, in a game that was compromised by sending off anyway. So, you know, it's not going to be easy. The left back position, I guess, could be a possibility there. Maybe Arteta sees Calafiori as a player that can bring more to the team when you want like Gabriel. I'm not sure how good he is with the ball, like contributing to the offensive actions. Whereas Calafiori comes into midfield, he helps to create overloads and break the press better. Maybe in games where Arsenal need that, maybe he'll use Calafiori. But like you said, how do you break up that partnership when it's being the best? It's a difficult one. It is a difficult one. Maybe he goes to left back instead of Timber. Maybe Arteta thinks he's going to rotate. I don't know. Maybe Arteta surprises us. Like, I don't think many people thought when Ramsdale was replaced by Raya, I don't think anybody looked at that and thought, well, he needs to do that. And he did that.
Right. Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So maybe we don't know. With Arteta's always looking at something, an extra couple of percent. And if he thinks that Calafiori can give a few more percent because he's going to offer more to Arsenal, maybe they'll score more goals. That sounds crazy to say that about defenders, but that's how modern football is now. If he thinks that he will offer more offensively, then maybe, I don't know. But it's a question. It's a difficult question, I'll be honest.
I think it's a great pickle for Arteta to have. You know, this is what Arsenal fans have been crying for and dying to have for years, and that's competition in each position. And I think we've gotten that now, barring maybe Saka's position and some, you know, unfortunately, Mikel Merino injured would bring that to the midfield. But at the same time, with Jorginho, I think is amazing. Can we please just give some respect to Jorginho? I mean, another Italian national team player. I thought against the first 20 minutes against Tottenham, I was so worried, Carlo, but he is a pure leader. He's just, I love him. Best 12 million Arsenal have ever spent for me, Jorginho. And I think in the Champions League, he could be huge. Go on, mate.
No, I was going to say the best thing about Jorginho is, and you'll only see this if you go to games and watch him live, is the way that he organises and directs his teammates. And he's like I can see him becoming a manager when he finishes, because he's an on-field manager. He really is. The way that he instructs his players, the defensive line, to push up, to get compact, or you come over here, you go over there. Come on, like his leadership qualities. Like that is, people don't see that. You don't see that on TV much, but you'll see that at the game. That is so important in football. Organisation and basically being able to carry out the manager's instructions. I think Arteta's spoken about that himself. That is so important. Those are Jorginho's great qualities. Because if I'm being honest, he's not the same player now that he was. I mean, I thought when he was at Chelsea, I thought he was. I mean, he was, I think, was it third in the Ballon d'Or race that one year when Chelsea won the Champions League? And he used to get a lot of ridiculous criticism from Chelsea fans. I thought he was a joke because for me, he was one of the best. At the time, he was one of the best in the world in his position. I wouldn't call him that now anymore. I think he's past his best as a player, but as an important, you know, the other stuff, he's still contributing a lot. And I thought he was really good against Tottenham, actually, as well.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely. Okay, I'm going to get you out on this one, and then I'm going to stay on for a few minutes to do some housekeeping here with the squad. I did say to Carlo 30 minutes, but there might be some added time for VAR. But I do have to mention Kolasinac real quick before we go, because of course, he leaves Arsenal. Credit to him. He's done quite well at Atalanta, wins Europa League. these moments will forever be iconic for me. I'll always appreciate Kolasinac for this moment in the North London derby. This was when the third goal went in. I think many of people at the time made this their wallpaper. It felt like a scene from Game of Thrones. There's nothing more pleasurable than beating Tottenham. He meets his old side. Is he doing well? Is it just kind of because he was in the winning Europa League team that it felt like he was? What can we expect from Kolasinac?
Yeah, he did decently last season. He offered balance because they play a back three, and his role has been the left centre back of the three. And when he doesn't play, they don't really have that kind of left-footed centre back. So he offers balance. He's a strong guy. I mean, like
He's a beast.
I can picture him in a fight. Like, I mean, I'll never forget. Do you remember that video of him and Ozil together?
Yes.
Do you remember that? And like, the guy did he have a knife or something? And he didn't even flinch. He didn't even flinch at all. Like, so like, if I'm going to war, I would want Kolasinac on my side. He's very imposing. He's done all right for Atalanta. He hasn't started the season that well. He wasn't good at the weekend, I'll be honest, for the Fiorentina game. He was badly at fault for one of the goals, but he's done pretty well. His biggest problem at Atalanta has been injuries. So many injuries. He went off in that Europa League final as well with an injury early on. So that's been his problem. He's been a bit stop-start, and as a result, it takes you time to get back into your rhythm. But overall, he's been pretty good. Not great, but good.
All right. Okay. So, and just real quick, do you think Lookman, because I had this up as well, you mentioned him, he was brilliant in that game. Is he special? Is he overhyped?
He's special for Atalanta. But the thing about it is, I would always be wary of buying players from Atalanta because the records show you buy a player from Atalanta, not many of them do well once they leave, actually. And I think that's because Gasperini is a bit of a system coach, that he gets players playing in the system. And that might be the case with Lookman, because he was a bit of a journeyman before he joined Atalanta. He's gone there and he's become phenomenal, to be honest with you. And so, yeah, for me, from what he does at Atalanta, definitely special at Atalanta.
Okay, let's get your prediction, and we'll let you go. And then me and the squaddies are going to work on our starting 11 here for tomorrow night. What does your crystal football say, Mr. Garganese?
Oh, it's a tough one. I think there'll be goals for sure. We've seen that with the number of goals. I think both teams will score. I want to say 1-1. I'm thinking draw. I'm thinking maybe 1-1, but I could also see 2-1 either way as well. I'm going to go 1-1.
Okay. 3-1 Atalanta. I'll tell you, he's winding me up in chat anyway. Okay, fair enough. Carlo, let everyone know where they can find you, and let them know what kind of stuff you're doing. This is Carlo's handle on X. And I just wanted to make sure that you're still doing transfer.com and the Italian football podcast.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. You've got all the handles there. So at Carlo Garganese on Twitter, that's the only real social media platform that I kind of use. I'm not good on social media, but Italian football podcast is the podcast that I co-host with Nima. And we've been doing it for 4 years now, and we do 3 shows a week. We do a Monday show, which is free for everyone. We do a Q&A with all our subscribers, and then we do a midweek review show, which is for subscribers as well. It's $2.99 a month to be a subscriber, and we're also on YouTube as well. And I really enjoy that. That's my baby, and we have some good interviews we had Sven on. Sven Goran Eriksson is another legend that's left us. Yeah, he come on to us. We actually become really close to him. I was very sad about that as well. Yeah, too many legends going. But yeah, that's Italian Football Podcast. Is if you like Italian football, check us out.
I do enjoy your podcast. It's really good, and you get some really good guests on, and that's where I learn a lot about Italian football, which I have had a soft spot for since the James Richardson days on Channel 4. So, Carlo, thank you so much for joining. At ease, and we will see you soon. Take care, mate.
Thank you, Sophie. See you
All
soon.
right,
Ciao.
take care. Bye. That's Carlo Garganese, our Italian football expert. See, I told you I was disheveled. Now you're getting a close up. I wanted to stay on for a few minutes with you guys to talk about your starting 11. I was curious to know what you guys think, who you would start, who you would sit, what that looks like for you, because of course we do have Manchester City coming up, and we're going to do a preview show of that and a bit of a Q&A with Harry on Friday, which you guys will enjoy. You know, I know that Mikel likes to squeeze as much as he can out of his starting 11. Of course, Declan Rice is back, and he will come into midfield straight away. I believe the midfield would be Thomas Partey, Jorginho, and Declan Rice. And it was on Monday where James Green from Sky Sports News, if you missed that show, please go check it out, Monday Madness with James Green, where he said he's probably had a word with the players that over these next 2 matches, he's got to squeeze as much as he can out of them, and then players will get rested in the Carabao Cup. And then, of course, we've got another international break coming up sometime in October. But it's important to get a really positive start in the Champions League. And of course, we don't want any major problems ahead of the Manchester City match. So I was thinking, Neto. No. Goalkeeper stays, I think. Mark was a winner, by the way, last week. He can vouch for this with football prizes. He listened to the show. He went and bought a few tickets. And before you knew it, he's heading now to a hospitality special night in the Carabao Cup, Arsenal versus Bolton. He's going to get all the trimmings, and he paid $3.95 for a ticket. And this week, it is Benjamin White and Riccardo Calafiori. Doesn't get much hotter than this, kids. Benjamin White and Riccardo Calafiori, okay? And it's $3.95 for a ticket. The auction ends on the 23rd, but you're going to want to get your ticket early, okay? Benjamin White, Riccardo Calafiori, signed Arsenal shirt display, and it's a duel as well. And then you've got 17 opportunities to win instant prizes, and that includes a Gabriel shirt, that includes a Saliba shirt. But in terms of 2 football studs, doesn't get much better than Benjamin White and Calafiori, and Gabriel and Saliba as well. And yes, nice one, Mark. We showed him off on social media. So make sure you go get your ticket. All right. So real quick, I want to get your take. Strong lineup you'd go for. Let's see. Mark would like to see Saka rested. You're going to play Sterling. I'm happy to rest Saka in this match. I don't know if Mikel will do that though, Mark. I would play Trossard on the left, Havertz in the middle, or Jesus on the left, Havertz down the middle, Sterling on the right. I love Jesus in the Champions League. He's so good and has been so good, not only for City, but also for us. And I think these are the types of games where Jesus' experience comes into the mixer. I'm happy for Trossard to play on the left. I'm even happy for Martinelli to play on the left. I think people have been a little harsh on Martinelli. Don't want him to become the new scapegoat. I believe that he did everything his manager asked him to do in the North London derby, and it was less about what we want to see him do. That game was one that required some extra tactical nous from Mikel Arteta, and it was executed to a T. And Martinelli, his tracking back, and he works so hard, and I backed him the very moment we went on air after that match, and I continue to back him. So I'd be happy with either of those 3 players on the left, Havertz down the middle, Mr. Durable, and then on the right, I bring in Sterling, give him a start, rest Saka. Saka can come on if needed. And then you've got Partey, Jorginho, and Rice in the midfield. And then the back line stays the same for me. Calafiori's coming back from an injury. He can come on, give Timber a rest. And I would keep Raya in goal for sure. I'm only playing a different goalkeeper in the domestic cups. So that would be what I would do. Saka, rest, start Waneri. Waneri's not going to start. You guys, here we go again. We've been here before. We've drank from the mug. We've won the T-shirt. Do you remember? Immediate name that springs to mind, Charlie Petit. Pochettino, but Waneri clearly is levels above Patino. But let's ease him in. Bring him on with 20, 25 minutes to go. All right. There's going to be the right time for him to start. And I believe he's going to get his chances in the Carabao Cup and in the FA Cup. But this first game in the Champions League, you want to start strong. You do not want to go into this losing a game away from home. Mikel Arteta is not a risk taker. He takes calculated risks, but he's not going to take unnecessary risks, when he just doesn't need to. So Waneri for me is on the bench. That's my 11. Waneri comes on when we're 3-0 up, says Teng. Let's see. Mark says Timber, Partey, Saka need rested. I would add Big Gabriel and then rest Saliba in the cup game. Sterling doesn't look up to speed yet from what I saw at Spuds. Big strength of him is 1 versus 1 earning pens. But remember, that was a very different game too. We're protecting a 1-0 lead. And the goal there was for those guys to just keep the ball and not give the ball away cheaply. So, I think this is a little bit different. Benny, it's time for Waneri to step up. What do you mean step up? He's come on and he's done brilliantly when he's asked, and he was one of our best players in pre-season. Yes, Soph, Sterling can start. Waneri deserves to start in the 10. I just think that's too high risk, as I've said. I agree, Soph, says Benny, but Odegaard is out up to Waneri to show he is good enough. Yeah, I mean, it's true. I see what you're saying, but I think those waters will be tested in the domestic cups, not in the first game of the Champions League away from home. He's ready mentally. He's ready physically. We see lots of young players get the opportunity at Manchester City, at Liverpool, at Barcelona, and I feel like there's a reason why he and Skelly are in the squad. They're on the bench. Waneri gets those opportunities. When the senior player comes off, he gets his time. This is going to be managed a little bit like Phil Foden and Pep Guardiola, and Mikel Arteta was there to see how that was handled firsthand. And we've seen in the past where we get too hyped on our young players and we want to throw them in. Imagine he starts the game, we lose away from home. Can you imagine the narrative on social media and online? Oh, is he good enough? Is he this? We should protect that young player at all costs. And I think Mikel Arteta is going to do the right thing there. Okay. Let's see. What else did I want to talk to you about, guys? Let me know in the YouTube comments what your starting 11 looks like, what your predictions are for the game. And let's hope we get off to a good start in the Champions League. Thank you to Carlo as well for his intel. Really good guest and really good insights on Atalanta. He actually made me feel better about Atalanta a little bit. The fact that he thought that they weren't as good as they are last season for all the reasons that he said. It made me feel a little bit better about this match tomorrow night. Okay, hit that like button, please. It does help the show. And I know I want you guys to help me because I've been, here you go, Vinny. There's a little bit of Vinny. There's a little bit of Vespa. Timings are a little bit off on the show. This Champions League stuff, Tuesdays, Wednesdays, Thursdays, is hard because everyone watches the game. The game started at 5 o'clock UK time. They're going to end till 10 o'clock. Is 10 o'clock too late for a show? It seems like the earlier shows, you guys aren't used to it yet. Let me know what you think. The Monday show, Monday Madness, will either go after the Monday game or before. We always had the 8 o'clock slot. And that has been our staple show. The goal is to do shows on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays. So we've got listeners from all around the world. Some are creeping back into the show after a difficult year. And some of you are listening on replay. We're going to be doing a lot more stuff as well this season. We've got great guests coming on soon. Perry Groves will be on soon. We've got a really special show lined up with 2 phenomenal journalists that I think you're going to be super, super excited about. Sophie Nicolaou will be on for the Liverpool game. Some of your favorites, of course. And as I said, on Friday, I'm previewing the Manchester City match and doing a Q&A with Harry. So Let me know in the YouTube comments, and don't forget, people, to go get your football prizes ticket. Those guys over there are doing a great job. And look, it's such good value for $3.95. Okay, you can have the most incredible memorabilia. It's pretty impressive, pretty impressive. And Mark is living to tell the tale, and someone else won too, but I cannot remember who it was. So yeah, great shows coming up. Thanks, Mark. Also, we've got the Arsenal Women's Show coming up that will be debuting this Sunday after the Manchester City Arsenal game. I'm going to be doing the post game show, and then later on in the evening around 8 o'clock UK time, Demian and Albert will be back for the Arsenal Women's Show as well, because our women kick off their new season. Big hopes there. Big hopes, not only in the league, but also the Champions League. This is a huge season for Jonas. If he doesn't start well, I mean, if he gets, I'm just saying, he's under the microscope, that one. You better pull it out the bag, because we can't have that anymore. And then next Wednesday, I have a very special show lined up as well. Some announcements to make on the Total Football Show with Kyle. Be joined by Kevin's sister. And we'll be talking a lot about the foundation and how we can help and how we can get stuck in. And Everton Football Club, well done today for the very special memorial service that took place. And Kevin's family were there, and it was a beautiful, beautiful ceremony. I've been sent a lot of messages by Everton fans, and I appreciate that. Thank you. And thank you all for attending as well. The Kevin Campbell Foundation is being launched next week. I just wanted to give you guys a little bit of a heads up as well, because Kevin's sister will be coming on the show next Wednesday, where we will talk about that, and we will continue to do all that we can to keep his legacy alive. I know it's really hard for a lot of you. Trust me, it's hard for me too, but we've got to keep the Highbury Squad going. We've got to keep marching forward. I know it's been hard for a lot of you to watch, and I totally understand that. But Kevin wanted us to be bigger and better than ever. And I ask you all to continue to support the show as much as you can. Hit the like button when you're watching. Subscribe if you're just peeking in. It all really helps us. And there's going to be a lot of ex-players and journalists and good friends of the show that are going to help us keep the legacy going. And we have some really great plans for the channel in the not too distant future as well. So it's all very much appreciated, and I really appreciate you. And I know it's not easy at times, but trust me, you know, the easiest thing would be to just not, but the best thing to do is just to keep going, because that's what Kevin would absolutely want. So I appreciate all of you and your continued support. And I also appreciate all of our great guests that we have on the show, but there would never be a show without the squaddies. And I absolutely love and adore each and every one of you. So let's keep it rolling. Please do hit the like button, share with your friends, and let's hope for a victory in Europe tomorrow night for the Gunners and Mikel Arteta's Arsenal Avengers. As Gunnerwork says, as the big man was, the show and this community are bigger than even him. It's what he would have wanted. We have something special here. Love what we're continuing to do. You've got my total support. I love that. Mark, we love the show, and we are here with you, Sophie. I appreciate each and every one of you. No doubt about that. Rich, who's been here from the beginning too. Great show. Keep up this fantastic show. Super Kev would love it. Have to do it. He told me. And you know, got to keep going. All right, guys. Have a phenomenal rest of your day. Enjoy the football. We will be back live on Friday. And then after that, I will be back live immediately after the final whistle, Manchester City versus the Arsenal. We're going to talk about that game on Friday with Harry. Until then, don't forget to tell your loved ones you love them. You know the rules here. Let me read these little messages to Richie. We will never forget Kevin, a true Arsenal legend. Great show, Super Soph. Great guest, Carlo. Keep up the great work at Squaddies at ease. Carol, thanks, Sophie. We're all here together. Thank you for continuing to provide great content. Sophie. Absolutely. Patrick, great show. Come on, you Gunners. Mark, take care. Squaddies. Okay. You know the rules. Don't forget to tell your loved ones you love them. And just for you, I mean, it's still bragging rights week, right? One more time. And a very special person in the chat, Tony. Always appreciate Tony and her love and support. She and Vinny and Vesper have been my absolute rock this year. And we always talk about truths on our show. And I get so many messages and letters from you guys and DMs when you're having good times and bad times. And a lot of those come in the bad times. And let me tell you, as much as you feel like I've been here for you, you have been here for me. And I can't begin to tell you how much I appreciate it. And without Tony, Vinny, and Vesper, I'm not quite sure what my mindset would be these days. So they're always looking out for me, and I love and adore them. And you guys are an extended part of my family, and I love and adore you guys very much too. So yeah, this community we've built for a reason, and we're going to continue building our community. And we're going to continue sticking together and being here for each other in the good times and the bad. It's easy to be around and laugh and joke when, you know, the good times are rolling, but you know who is there for you in the times that are the most challenging and when you are going through adversity. And I appreciate you guys very, very much. And I especially appreciate Tony as well. All right, you guys, that is it. I'm really going to leave now. All right. And I'll leave you with this. How about this? Because it's still North London Derby bragging rights week. And is it a little mean? I don't know. It's just banter, isn't it? Enjoy. I'll see you on Friday. I love you. At ease, squaddies. At ease. Mind the gap between the train and the platform. Please stand clear of the discussion doors. The next stop is Highbury Squad.